Welcome, and thank you for coming tonight. My name is Mike Cotner. I'm the chairman of the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame. Oh, sorry about that. We'll get that fixed. This year is the 10th anniversary. We've been doing this since 1996. So we've had 10 induction classes. It's quite an honor to be here for all 10 years. There's a lot of people here that have been here for 10 years. On behalf of the Hall of Fame Committee, I'd like to welcome everybody here. We have people that have traveled quite distances to come. So on their behalf, thank you. Tonight's MC is Tim Jensen. He's a 1983 graduate. It will be broadcast on Cox Cable by Walt Shermer. We're going to get it on probably in a couple of weeks, and we'll try to get the announcement of when it's going to be on as well. Tonight's Hall of Famers will also receive a copy of this event mailed to them. Back to the MC. Tim Jensen is a 1983 graduate of Fermi High School. He's recently named editor-in-chief of the Enfield Press. He's an on-air personality of Cameo Entertainment Group in Hartford. He hosts a Legends internet radio show featuring music from Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'd like to welcome Tim. Tim's been with the committee probably 8 or 9 years now, but he does a great job. Please give a round of applause to Tim Jensen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Stunned silence. Just think I was approaching a woman or something. You can try this again. It's the 10th anniversary. This is a big deal, so we're going to have a lot of enthusiasm tonight, so we're going to start all over again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate that. I'm very happy to be here once again to induct such a wonderful group of people into the Hall of Fame. As Mike mentioned, this is the 10th year of the Hall of Fame, the 10th class, and it's just amazing that it's flown by so quickly. Just seems like yesterday that Craig Janney and Bill Spanswick and Cookie Brummage and Tony Romano and everybody were standing up here. And now here we are at class number 10. Just a whirlwind has gone by. And I think that Mike Cotner, as chairman of the committee, has done a fabulous job over the last 10 years, along with the founder of the Hall of Fame, Mr. Bill Chaves. Just done a wonderful job in getting this organization established and running the way it has for the last 10 years. In thinking back over the 10 years, it's just amazing to think about the wonderful people that have stood here accepting induction into the Hall of Fame. Mike mentioned that I do a radio show called Legends. I play music from the members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I've had the opportunity to interview and meet quite a number of them over at the Waldorf Astoria in New York City for the induction every year. And there was a gentleman inducted this year that most of you will not know. His name is Buddy Guy. He's a blues guitarist from Chicago, was very big in blues recording in the 60s and 70s. He's still out there today at 69, still recording great music. There were two things when I met him this past March that have stuck with me and made me think about Enfield. Buddy Guy stood up there in front of, I think there were 400 people at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, it's all the big celebrities, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and all these people were there. And he said to everybody, "My mama always said, don't give me flowers after I'm gone because I can't enjoy them. Give them to me now so I can smell them." And then he held up his Hall of Fame trophy and he said, "Y'all gave this to me tonight and I'm smelling this." And that's kind of made me think about this group, about how gracious all the people who've been inducted have been over the years to be selected by their peers to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And the other thing that Buddy Guy said that stuck with me has just escaped my mind because it's hot as can be up here in this stupid suit. It did. It slipped my mind, but I remember what it is now. He stood up there during his induction in front of all these people. And, of course, they're allotted a lot longer than the Hall of Famers here tonight are allotted, because tonight's inductees will be speaking for no more than 5 minutes. Isn't that right, Mr. T? Thank you. Sorry, we always pick on Bill T because he set the record in the year 2000. His speech was about 4 days, 12 hours, and something. I'm not really quite sure. Sorry, Bill. We could continue Bill's speech tonight, but there's a wedding here next Saturday, so he won't have time. Sorry, I used that joke last year, too. But Buddy Guy, they were allotted, I think the guys were given about 15 or 20 minutes each, and you too, Bono got up there and talked for about 20 minutes himself. Buddy Guy, during his 15 minutes he was allotted, stood up there for approximately 30 seconds, and then he said, I don't even want to talk about me, I just want to play for y'all. And he went out with the two people who presented him into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a couple of people you have heard of, B.B. King and Eric Clapton. They took their guitars and sat there for 7 minutes playing a song together, three of the greatest blues guitars of all time. But Buddy Guy's attitude during that whole thing made me think of Enfield. Because we've had over the 10 years, well, the previous 9 years here in the Hall of Fame, a lot of people that are just like that. They don't stand up here and tell you how great they were. They don't sit here and say, you know, oh yeah, I did all this, I did this. There's not a lot of I's that have been up here. I think about things over the 10 years. I think about Leo Arnone last year. He set the all-time record. He's kind of the anti-Bill T. 37 seconds he was up there. The most humble speech, just overwhelmed, you know, at the induction to the Hall of Fame. I think about the humility of people like Mike Angelica, talking about what his dad meant to him. He didn't talk about himself. He talked about what his dad meant to him. People with all the humility in the world, Howie Brummage standing up here in 1999 telling everybody that he wouldn't play in the golf tournament because if the Hall of Fame committee saw him play, they might revoke his induction. That's the kind of attitude that I think is just wonderful here with this organization. And tonight we've got 6 more terrific Hall of Fame inductees going in, a special award winner, a team induction. We've got a lot to do tonight, so we'll get right on with it. In the back of your program, on the next to last page actually, is a list of all the sponsors and prize donors that have helped to assist the Hall of Fame financially over the past year. And many of them have been with us throughout all of the 10 years that the Hall of Fame has been in existence. We do ask that you patronize the sponsors because they are a big reason that we're all here due to their support. One of the big supporters of the Hall of Fame is actually the town of Enfield itself. They do include us each year in a portion of the town budget and assist us in other ways, insurance and manpower when we need to move, when we moved over to the senior center, things along those lines. The Hall of Fame has been, the town of Enfield has been a great supporter of the Hall of Fame. And with that in mind, at this time, I'd like to introduce Mayor Patrick Tallarita, who brings greetings from the town of Enfield. Pat?
Thank you, Tim. Hello, everybody. How are you all tonight? Good. You're going to have a lot of fun here this evening. You know, when I came in tonight, I was just looking at the list of all the inductees, the past and present inductees into the Hall of Fame, and I just noticed there were so many great family names in there. I mean, people that have made such contributions to the town of Enfield over the years and had such involvement in the town of Enfield. And I really thank the Hall of Fame committee for putting this on and putting this together, because I think it really adds to the sense of community to get everybody here tonight. And so many people I talked to in the hallway outside that said it was just a great time to just come here and see people that they haven't seen in years, or this is the only time they get a chance to see certain people. So I think that this adds to the sense of community, not only honoring people that have done, you know, wonderful things in our community, but it's an opportunity to bring us all together again. So I thank the committee for that, and I certainly congratulate all of this year's inductees. And have a good time tonight. Tell a few stories so that you can pass them down to future generations about the way Enfield used to be when you were out there playing sports. I have a proclamation here that I like to read, and it goes, whereas the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame was established in 1996 to recognize past and present individuals who have made a significant athletic contribution to the town of Enfield. And whereas the class of 2005 inductees to the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame consists of Sue Mercick Davis, Joseph Dipple, Erica Johnson, Ken Lefty King, Marcel Lessard, and David Morton. Whereas the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame Committee will also honor Raymond Fisher with the George Daly Jr. Special Recognition Award. Whereas the Enfield Hall of Fame Committee will also honor the Hazardville RCA women's sports team of the 1930s. And whereas the inductees and award recipients will be honored at the 10th annual induction ceremony to be held on September 24th, 2004 at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Enfield, Connecticut. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Patrick L. Talarita, Mayor of the Town of Enfield, on behalf of the Town of Enfield and its citizens, do hereby congratulate the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame Class of 2005 inductees, the George Daly Jr. Special Recognition Award recipient, and the 1930 Hazardville RCA teams. Be it further resolved that I hereby declare September 24th, 2005 to be Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame Day in the Town of Enfield. And I hope you all have a wonderful night laughing and seeing old friends. Have fun. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Pat. One thing that Pat mentioned is something that I really was thinking about a lot when the Hall of Fame class was announced after the balloting in May. Pat was talking about family and family names here in town, and this is a very unique class being inducted this year. There's an awful lot of family that's being inducted. We have our second father-daughter combination. We have our first brother-sister combination, and our first brother-in-law-sister-in-law combination. So there really is quite a sense of family here this evening. I grew up as an athlete here in Enfield, and for those of you who have never met me before tonight, I will pause for a moment while you look at my physique and say, he couldn't have been an athlete. No way. And for a real shocker, distance runner. 140 pounds, hair down to here. Take my word for it. There are pictures still in existence. I couldn't get them all to get rid of. One of the kids that I grew up playing sports with lived about 3 streets away. His name is Brian Daly. In fact, he's sitting right here at the table to my right. Brian's dad, George, was always involved in athletics here in Enfield, coaching, officiating, anything that George could do to be involved in sports, he would do. George Daly went on to become one of the original members of the Hall of Fame committee when it first started way back in 1995, and he was instrumental in researching many of the biographies of the candidates for the Hall of Fame. Sadly, George did pass away in 1996, just 3 days before the very first induction ceremony. In 1997, the Hall of Fame voted to establish the George Daly Special Recognition Award in George's memory. Here tonight to present the George Daly Special Recognition Award is George's widow, Mrs. Elena Daly.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I want to congratulate the Hall of Fame on their 10th anniversary. I also want to extend my deepest gratitude to the committee for establishing the annual Special Recognition Award in memory of George. George's affection and enthusiasm for sports was irresistible. He was proud to be a member of the Hall of Fame committee and enjoyed doing the research for potential nominees. He was very outgoing and had an infectious smile. His love and laughter brightened our lives. He was special because he showed friendship to everyone and gave of himself. His kindness and his compassion are reflected in our children. I am highly honored to be able to present the George Daly Special Recognition Award tonight. I want to extend my congratulations to all of the inductees here. I also want to congratulate the committee for the amazing job they do in putting together this amazing night. I also want to say happy birthday to my son.
As I said, George Daly was involved in so many ways here in the town of Enfield. And tonight's George Daly Award winner was also a man that was so involved in so many different types of athletics here in Enfield. Ray Fisher grew up as an athlete playing ball in the 1930s at Enfield High School. Later on, though, he really made his niche being involved with athletics, the development of young athletes, and doing what he could to get athletics up and running in many different facets here in town. He coached Little League ball, coaching 5 championship teams. He was a Little League All-Star coach for many, many years, and was one of the original organizers of the Enfield Jets hockey team. He was involved in the Macholik Post junior football team and was very active in the town's boxing programs, working with 2 Hall of Famers, Vito Talarita and Angelo Lamagna, with the youth center boxing programs. Ray Fisher passed away in 1989. Here tonight to accept on Ray's behalf is his son, Randy Fisher.
Good evening. On behalf of my mother, brothers, Corey and Brian, our children, Jamie, Joel, and Chelsea, I would like to thank the selection committee for recognizing my father's work in youth sports with his induction into the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame. I know this recognition would have meant a great deal to him. Long before Hillary Clinton popularized the African adage that it takes a village to raise a child, people like my father, his best friend Vito Talarita, Roger Racine, Carlo Castangino, Larry Lamont, Carl Angelica, Dick Bissett, and many others gave countless hours of their time and energy to shepherd young boys from childhood through adolescence and into adulthood. They were our mentors, and using sports as a metaphor, they instilled and reinforced in us the values of fair play, sportsmanship, discipline, work, humility in victory, and graciousness in defeat. And we were taught that the game did not end with a final score, the blow of a whistle, or the sound of a horn. Rather, it ended with the coming together of those that competed, with the shaking of hands and the congratulatory utterance of good game. That generation, described as the greatest generation, was not perfect, but they cared deeply about their children, families, and community. Their work touched the lives of thousands of families and children and helped forge relationships that today still persist. Their example set a standard and lit a beacon for all that have followed. And with them stood their wives, our mothers, Lil Talarita, Rose Castangino, Doris Racine, Eileen Angelica, Helen Lamont, and of course my mother, Teresa Feminari Fisher, my father's wife. In a less public and visible way, these women supported their husbands, comforted their children, and strengthened our village. Without them, none of this would have been possible. My father was not a complicated man, nor was he educated, but his decency and dedication to family, community, and country are now enshrined along with him in the hall. If my father were here today, I know he would be so pleased and honored by his induction. But I also know that he would be just as happy to be with his family and old friends and to greet the men that he once knew as boys. Thank you.
told you, Mr. Cotner's been doing a great job as chairman for the last 10 years, and he just informed me of something I omitted. Hard to imagine I made a mistake. I forgot to mention that we have a father-son being inducted also tonight. The King. Lefty King will be inducted later. His son Peter is here from the class of 1997. If you were here last year, Bill Canton was inducted. He was a track and field runner, and in his speech he was talking about where people used to play ball here in town, and he mentioned one place in particular, that brick building on the corner of North Maple Street in Hazardville, the old Hazardville Institute. And he mentioned that on the second floor was a short, narrow basketball court. Anybody here ever play at the Hazardville Institute? What was the ceiling? 6 feet, maybe? The Bush brothers are here. They had to play like this, you know, shoot the ball like that. There was a team that played out of the Hazardville Institute that had a lot, and I mean a lot, of success, and that was the Hazardville RCA girls teams of the 1930s, the baseball teams and the basketball team, particularly the basketball team. They won a couple of championships of their league. In fact, they won a state championship in 1935. They played their home games there, and many of the basketball team members also played on the baseball team. The Hall of Fame voted to induct the Hazardville RCA teams of the 1930s into the team induction category into the Hall of Fame tonight. Here to represent the 1930s Hazardville RCA girls basketball and baseball programs is one of the members of the basketball team of the 1930s, Francis Dubiel.
I thank you all very much, and I certainly enjoyed playing basketball in Hazardville. We were great. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight. Okay?
Thank you.
I thought I saw Detective Arnone here. Where are you? You just lost your record of 37 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to say the 3 words you've been waiting for since you walked in the door. Dinner is served. We'll see you all after dinner with a media presentation over here, followed by the induction of the class of 2005. Enjoy your dinner, ladies and gentlemen. Momentarily, we will be inducting 6 new members into the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame. As has been mentioned, this is the 10th induction class, a very special year for all of us here at the Hall of Fame. And before we introduce the class of 2005, there are several VIPs here tonight that I would like to have come up to the podium right in front of me as I call your name, please, and stay up here for a large group photo. First of all, 2004 George Daly Special Award winner Ben Peralt. Russell Tyler. Bill Teague. Bill Spanswick. Fran Slattery. Amy Romano. Matt Kliska. Dick Nelson. Bob Mercick. Mike Melfa. Bob Lynn, Sharon LeBret, Peter King, Bob Keller, Augie Gush and Kenny Gush, Joe Golis, Marion Dipple, Phil Clarkin, Bob Brummage, Cookie Brummage, and Howie Brummage, Leo Arnone, and Mike Angelica. Ladies and gentlemen, we have tonight the single greatest collection of Hall of Fame talent we've ever had. There are 24 previous Hall of Famers here with us tonight. Let's have them all a big round of applause. They're the ones that raised the trail for tonight's class. Now let's move on into the group picture. Bill Team is near the mic. I will be turning it off momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, how about one more big round of applause for all of our Hall of Famers in attendance tonight. No, Bill. Right here. Your seat's over here. Since we have all gathered last September, we have lost one member of the Hall of Fame family. Let's take a moment to please remember 2003 Hall of Famer John Urban. And now the time has arrived for the class of 2005, the 10th Hall of Fame class being inducted. Leading off today, I just started, as Mike mentioned earlier, I just took over the Enfield Press last month, and I've started covering sports. And I'm covering every sport. And last week, I covered a field hockey game at Enfield High School. And Enfield High won 3-0 over Stafford. That's good, guys, okay? After the game, I spent about 30 minutes with legendary Hall of Fame coach Cookie Brummage. 5 minutes talking about the game, 5 minutes talking about this Hall of Fame dinner tonight, and 20 minutes telling me what the hell I just watched so that I could know what to write about. We have two field hockey players, really standout players, going into the Hall of Fame tonight. First up, someone who went to Fermi, my alma mater. Let's hear it for Fermi. Any Fermi people here tonight? All right, Fermi. We're the junior school. We've only been around since about, 1972, I think, so we don't have as many Hall of Famers. But we lead off tonight with a Fermi Falcon, who was a two-time All-State field hockey player at Fermi High School, graduating in 1987 from Fermi and going on a full scholarship to Northeastern University. Oh, excuse me, Boston University. Jeez. Good night, everybody. Boston University, I apologize. I don't know why I had Northeastern on the brain. At Boston University, she was named to the All-Region team and the Boston 4 All-Star team, and set a school record for most goals in a season with 11, including a hat trick of 3 goals in one game. She also received the Sargent College Scholar Athlete Award and made the All-Conference Academic Team. Being presented by her dad, 2002 Hall of Famer Bob Mersick. Please welcome tonight's first Hall of Fame inductee, Sue Mersick Davis.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce the newest member to the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame, Joyce Mercy's little girl, and my little girl too, Susan Mercy. Thanks.
Good evening. I'm excited and honored to be here tonight, and I would first of all just like to thank the committee for even thinking that I belong here in this group of past and present prestigious athletes from Enfield. I was born and raised in Enfield and now currently reside here with my husband and 2 daughters. Sports have been a large part of my life, and I'd just like to share a couple memories with you tonight. I was blessed with 2 parents who have always taken an extremely active role in my upbringing. My father obviously was very athletic and happens to be a past Hall of Fame inductee. So as children, sports was always a huge part of our lives. Some of my earliest memories of sports come of seeing my father on an early spring day bringing my 2 brothers, my sister, and myself, all ranging in the ages from 5 to 10, down to the fields on Middle Road to practice baseball and softball drills. The aspect of that event that I think is the most important to me as an adult is that my father was an accountant with his own firm in Enfield and was working 7 days a week, about 10 to 15 hours a day. But he always took those Sunday mornings and set them aside to spend them with his children, expose us to his passion, which was sports. He always wanted to share in our growth as individuals and use athletics as one of his avenues. As an adult working parent of 2 children, I strive to show that interest and dedication and love that he showed us on those Sunday mornings 30 years ago. Thank you. My mother, she epitomized the utmost in selflessness and commitment to me throughout my career. I can count on one hand the number of games she missed throughout my entire career. She was always there to pick me up when I was down about losing or not playing well, and she cared for me throughout all of my injuries, especially the last, my knee injuries, which included many operations and a bunch of hospital stays. I couldn't have made it through those times without her, and her love and patience and support really kept me going. I can only hope that I can be that way to my daughters as well. And then I have my brothers and sisters. The memories I could tell, and I won't go into them all, but sports were always that common thread with us, whether we were watching them on TV and arguing about the Red Sox versus the Yankees and who was better, or just playing them. We always believed in each other and supported each other and went to each other's games. One thing that always amazed me, though, was that I ended up being a forward, because I remember years of being in the basement with my brothers being their goalie. And I would be their goalie for hours at a time, and they would reward me at the end with 5 minutes of just shots. And sometimes they'd be in the goal, and sometimes they wouldn't. But I was just thrilled that they would include me, really no matter how much it actually hurt at the end of it. And my sister. My sister and I were just a year apart. We grew up together and we're always on the same teams. And I just always remember walking down to our softball games together and all of the conversations we had. And she's my best friend, and she continues to be that today. I started in the Park and Rec department. I had the best coaches. They were Mr. Levine, Mr. Pelletier, just to name a few. They always reinforced that sports should be fun, and that no matter what the outcome, as long as you gave 100%, that's what really mattered. I had wonderful teachers, 2 of which I'd like to specifically thank, Linda Gatterman and Charlene Loria. They followed me throughout my sporting career, coming to my games in Enfield and then traveling to Boston University. They not only were my teachers, but my mentors, and they eventually became friends later in life. During my junior high and high school years, I had many coaches who helped me throughout my career, and I'd like to thank them all for that. But 2 people who I believe were very important in my receiving a scholarship to BU was Leah Secundo and Cookie Brummage. Leah took time out to film and develop and edit a videotape of my field hockey games that I used as a recruiting tool, and we sent them to the many coaches. And Cookie Brummage, although she was Enfield High's field hockey coach, our rival, she was more than happy to write a great letter of reference for me and to take phone calls from prospective coaches on my behalf, and I've never forgotten that. To many teammates and friends, I think of you often, and I think of all the memories I learned from you. I remember always wanting to play field hockey like Amy Romano. I don't think I ever came close, but I tried. I remember clashing on the field with Nancy Bivard because we were rivals and competitors, but we were always lifetime friends, and we always ended up laughing and joking together after the games, and that's what I think counted. And to Jen O'Connor, Lori Curry, and Kim Brown, what can I say? Sports brought us together in junior high, and we're still great friends today, 20 years later. So what have I learned from all the years of participating in sports and from the people I've encountered? Well, I think teach your children to play a sport or to play an activity. It develops the skills and attributes that I think are necessary to be successful in life. Invest your time in a child. It shows that you care about them as individuals, and it will affect them in a positive way throughout their life. If you're playing sports, always stay committed, play hard, and be gracious in victory as well as defeat. But most of all, enjoy what you're doing. Remember to have fun. Life is short, and it doesn't matter if you're the best. What matters is that you're out there trying. So thank you again, and I'm grateful and very humbled by this experience.
Many athletes excel in more than one sport in high school, but not too many get to play more than one in college. Joe Dipple is one of those guys that got the multi-sport experience at the post-high school level. After a sensational career in football and baseball at Enfield High School, he went on to the University of Connecticut, playing quarterback on their football team and pitching in standout fashion for their baseball team, even playing in the 1979 College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska. Joe then had a long career in semi-pro ball in the Hartford Twilight League. Just a phenomenal two-sport athlete. Joe's being presented into the Hall of Fame tonight by his sister, the very first brother-sister combination in the Hall of Fame, 2002 Hall of Famer Marion Dipple. Please welcome tonight's next inductee, Joe Dipple.
It is with great honor, privilege, and love that I present my favorite brother. He's my only brother, Joe Dipple.
Tim, thank you for that generous introduction. I asked my sister Marion to walk me up here this evening because when we were kids growing up, a day wouldn't go by where my sister wouldn't have me out in the yard playing baseball, whether throwing the football, throwing the baseball. And another thing we used to do is have races from telephone pole to telephone pole. And I never beat her. But she did teach me to be a competitive athlete and to develop a passion for sports. So I thank you, Mary. I'd especially like to thank the Enfield Hall of Fame for the fabulous production they put together here. They've done a great job, and they do a lot of great things in the community. And it's truly a great honor and a privilege for me to be here this evening with my other inductees, and for them to consider me a deserving inductee on this, their 10th anniversary. And once I received the call that I was being considered, that's caused me to reflect on my life. I was fortunate to have grown up in this town of Enfield. I had the opportunity to play Little League Baseball, midget football, participate in the Park and Rec development programs. And in junior high school and high school, I was able to play competitive football and basketball and baseball. And so I'm thankful to the town of Enfield and the Board of Education. And I would also like to say thank you to every teammate, and coach, and manager, and teacher, and parent that I had that helped with these programs and participated with these programs. I know they put a tremendous amount of time and effort into them. And I've always enjoyed playing competitive sports and the challenges and the friendships developed from being on those teams. Two coaches I would like to especially thank include my high school baseball coach, Bob Brummage, and my University of Connecticut baseball and football coach, Andy Baylock. They're two people that I consider as legends in the coaching world. Both of these coaches are people that always showed a lot of confidence and trust and faith in me, both as a person and as an athlete. And they're coaches that are mentors to most all of their players. So I'm very thankful to them. In high school, Coach Bob Brummage introduced me to many college baseball and football coaches. And later he introduced me to the baseball people of the Dutch National Baseball League of Holland. And I just consider these two coaches to be people that had a very positive influence in my life, and which I carry on with me now as a father and a coach myself. So I'm very thankful to them. And I've been blessed with a wonderful and caring family and group of friends who have always supported me. And that includes my 5 sisters who are with me here this evening, and my parents, including my dad here tonight. Somehow, he, while supporting a family of 8 and working 2 jobs, he always found time to practice and take us to practices and play catch with us in the yard and get to all our games. And I'm very appreciative to my parents for what they taught us, myself and my family, to work hard not only in your life, but when you play sports, when you practice and play, and to respect the people playing the games. But could you imagine growing up, as I did, in a family of 6 women, and my dad and I, with 1 bathroom? At a very early age, I learned about the necessities of outdoor plumbing. I'd also like to thank my dear wife, Mary, for being a good friend and a wonderful mother to our 2 sons, Joe and Paul. They love sharing. They also share the love of playing sports, and I'm very proud of them. They remind me very much of my sister Marion and I. Almost every day I come home, they're either in the yard kicking the soccer ball or throwing the baseball or passing the football around or knocking each other's heads together and having a good time. And so I thank them for being here with me this evening also. And I'd like to once again say thanks to all the people involved in the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame in putting together their great 10-year anniversary program. I'm personally very proud and thrilled to have the honor of being part of their program, and I appreciate their recognition very much. And I'd like to thank them for making this event a joy for my family and friends and myself, and it will certainly be a day we'll never forget. Thank you.
I mentioned at the beginning of the second part of the program, we have 2 field hockey players being inducted today. We had Fermi represented, and of course, we have a representative from the field hockey factory known as Enfield High School. There have been quite a few outstanding field hockey players come through the legendary Coach Cookie Brummage's program. And in looking at the biography of our next inductee, I can't imagine that there's ever been a greater field hockey player in this town as Erica Johnston. 78 career goals at Enfield High School. and playing on 3 consecutive state championships, 92, 93, and 94, including MVP of the 94 championship game, and making All-American in high school field hockey. She then went on to the University of Massachusetts and was named to the second and third teams National College All-Americans in 1997 and in 1998, finishing in the top 5 of an entire host of UMass school records. If you look in the, I don't even have to tell you, look in the program, folks. There is a whole list of stuff that Erica Johnston did. It's just incredible. Erica is being inducted tonight by a member of the Charter Hall of Fame class of 1996, Coach Cookie Brummage. Please welcome tonight's next inductee, Erica Johnston.
Erica, it is truly an honor to present this to you this evening. I've got chills, because when I met this kid, when she walked across the field in 8th grade, coming over to one of our practices, she had a little swagger about her, and I looked at this girl coming across, and I said, my, who is this? And one of the kids said, that's Erica Johnston. She wants to play field hockey next year. Erica, you're very special. It's true, all your accolades and everything are one thing, but on top of it all, you're just a great kid and a very special person. Congratulations, honey. I love
you. Okay. Good evening. I'm going to preface my words tonight with a bit of advice. Beware of sorts. Be careful of those things in life that you try to avoid. You know, those things you fear the most. In the end, it's those very little things that find a way of finding you. I have spent the better part of my 12 years being able to avoid ever having to give a speech. 4 years of college, I pulled out every trick in the book. 7 years as an assistant field hockey coach. Now, and every year at our awards banquet, chronic laryngitis seems to kick in. So please beware with me tonight. I no longer can run. I want to thank each of you here tonight for allowing me this moment in time. I would especially like to thank my mom and dad for all their support throughout my career. Truth be told, I know they enjoyed those traveling days in college as much as our team did. They landed in many different places and were able to enjoy many different parts of our great country, from Iowa to Virginia to Carolina, back up to Maine to Westchester, down to New York and well beyond. There is nothing wrong with your parents living vicariously through you. Their backing was immeasurable. When I began my field hockey career at UMass, I found it comforting to learn of what was known as the proud crowd. This club of sorts consisted of moms and dads, grandparents, brothers and sisters, and friends. Each was there to cheer us on, bring us food, supply oranges, or most importantly, give us consoling hugs. I found this comforting because it brought me right back to high school, right back to what I remembered and embraced at Enfield High. No crowd was more supportive than those who attended our high school games. I would especially like to acknowledge my high school coach, Cookie Brummage. Cookie had that special coaching gift. She had that knack for creating an atmosphere and an excitement that was palpable. And every game was an event. For those who she coached, they knew that she was under the guidance of someone great. Thank you, Cookie, for those unforgettable 4 years. They meant a great deal for me. The years following Enfield High School were a whirlwind. I had unbelievable choices in front of me because of what so many people in this room did for me. I was able to stay at numerous schools and visit with many coaches and programs around the country. In the end, I chose the University of Massachusetts, a Division I program, and was honored to play under the legendary coach, Pam Hickson. Unfortunately, my years under Coach Hickson were short-lived when she accepted the position of the national team coach for the United States. Regardless, I persevered and always had the good fortune of having supportive people around me. Whether it was in times of joy or more tumultuous situations, the support was unwavering. For that, I am grateful. I feel fortunate to have grown up in the town of Enfield, and I know the youth of today are just as fortunate. In short, Enfield stands up for its youth. All around the other towns are canceling programs, cutting opportunities. Enfield, however, continues to drive on. A night like tonight just shows just how much athletic means to this town. Quite simply, our town gets it. For that, we're all appreciative. It would be a privilege for me to be able to give back. Perhaps a field hockey clinic for Miss Brummage's little field hockey team. I feel as though I'm indebted for all that was done for me, and I want the opportunity to give back. Though most of my time now is spent as an electrician, I am happy to still be involved in the game that I love so much. I have just entered my 7th season as an assistant field hockey coach at Mount Holyoke College. I have had the distinct pleasure to be under the guidance of a dynamic and vibrant coach in Andy Whitcomb. We have worked well together in the last 7 years as our team has gone twice to nationals and had much success. I am given new opportunities each year to really teach this game and let my passion be infectious to those younger women under me. I have become a better listener, a better motivator, a better teacher as I articulate all those skills Cookie Brummage taught me, as well as my coaches in college have taught me. I'd like to think that my players would be proud to know that I stand before you both humbled and flattered. The town of Enfield means the world to me, and I know I am one of the many ambassadors who have graced the field, the gymnasium, and the classroom, and come out with deep sense of pride and satisfaction of where I'm from. I will always be proud to tell people I was born and raised in Enfield High School. In closing, I would like to congratulate all of the other honorees, and most importantly, I want to thank all of my friends and family for the support here tonight. Thank you all for taking the time to come out and celebrate with me. Go Raiders.
I thought you said you didn't know how to give a speech. You did a nice job, Erica. Any baseball fans out there? One? Watch Major League Baseball nowadays, you see some great pitchers out there. I'm thinking, as a big Red Sox fan, come on, we got a former Red Sox pitcher in the room right here. Come on, where's the Red Sox fans? Back when we had Pedro, I'll never forget, Pedro would be pitching, and about the 7th inning, 2-hit shutout, he comes out of the game. Why? He's at his pitch count, 100 pitches. Everybody has a pitch count now. Everybody has relief pitchers now, specialists. Guys pitch 6 innings, they're called great pitchers. It wasn't that way back when I was growing up. It wasn't that way back when Bill Spans would pitch for the Red Sox, and it sure wasn't that way back in World War II. Back in the days when Lefty King would pitch on back-to-back days, 16 innings of shutout ball. That was what he did in 1941, back-to-back shutouts against 2 of the toughest teams in the league at the time. He was one of the great left-handed pitchers of all time here in the town of Enfield, and also played on the basketball team. He also distinguished himself with military service. Lefty passed away in 1986. I want to introduce 2000 Hall of Famer Bob Keller, who will be introducing our next Hall of Fame inductee, Lefty King, being represented by his son, Bob King.
It's my pleasure to introduce Bob to take the plaque for his father. I had the pleasure of playing with Lefty when I was a sophomore in high school, and he was a senior. And many of the exploits that you read about in the brochure were actually done while I was playing with him, and I appreciate the opportunity to have had the opportunity to play with him. And now, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. It's great to have somebody who has a direct connection with my father in his playing days do the introduction. I appreciate that. And thank you to the committee for this recognition of my dad, who, as was noted, has been gone for almost 20 years. I think he would have been very happy and proud to have received this honor, although he really wouldn't have said much about it because he wasn't one for talking very much about his own glory. In addition to the Hall of Fame committee, I'd like to thank another key person who kept my dad's name in front of the committee members for several years, and that's his brother, Andy Keir. And another person who helped put together the documentation for his career was my brother, who's also in this Hall of Fame, Peter King. I'd also like to introduce someone who's pretty athletic and sports-oriented herself, and that's my sister, Pam Whiteley. So, you've heard about the no-hitters and the other baseball and basketball heroics my father had as a younger man. But I want to talk a little about how a guy with a great sports career handled the rest of his life. Doesn't every father who has played sports hope, maybe secretly, that his kids will take up where he left off? I remember reading a biography of Mickey Mantle and learning how his father threw tennis balls to him endlessly in their backyard in Oklahoma, starting when he was 4 or 5 years old. Whether our dad had that same burning desire for us, I don't know. But let's say he didn't have the same material to work with as Mickey's father did. I know that while Dad never pushed us to get into sports, when we showed obvious interest, he was always there for us. He was there to play catch with us with his old flat glove, and I loved that glove. It was so flat you could throw it like a frisbee. He'd show us that roundhouse curve, that heavy screwball, and that fluttering knuckleball, and you knew why everybody called him Lefty, including my mother, who simply called him Lef. Being a terrific pitcher was his identity to a lot of people, even at that stage of his life. Even when we got to be decent Little League players, we could barely catch those pitches. And you know, Dad would be exhausted from a day of tying rebar or some other iron worker's job on a hot summer day, but he'd still agree to have a catch. And for us, it was just a really big thrill. Or later, when we bought him a new glove and we were in high school, he would pitch batting practice on a weekend sometimes. He could put the ball just where we asked, even when he was pushing 50. Dad often shot baskets with us in the little dirt court on the side of our house. He put up this great goal. Like him, it was solid. It stood on 2 tall pieces of 6-inch galvanized pipe, anchored in concrete, with a box structure of small pipe attached to the top. So he built the whole thing himself. It allowed the supports to be 3 feet behind the backboard so you wouldn't crash into them making a layup. On the front was a plywood backboard. I saw him burn off the old paint and repaint this backboard 3 or 4 times. If a weld broke on the hoop itself, he would either weld back the old one or bolt on a new one. So it was perfectly maintained. By way of comparison, at my house, I have a goal too. I bought mine at Sports Authority. It doesn't need painting, and it doesn't get nearly as much use, but that's another topic. Even in the 60s, Dad's shots seemed quaint to us. His foul shots were underhand. He had that hook shot where the arm is fully extended away from the defender, and that two-handed set shot. They might have looked old-fashioned, but there was nothing old-fashioned about how they fell through the hoop. He was deadly with all 3, and he kept assuring us that there really was nothing to this game. I don't think it was just the style of shooting baskets that was different in my father's heyday. Today, if somebody had the kind of high school career you've just heard that he had, he'd be nurtured and sent to camps. He'd be in the indoor batting cages in the winter and get tutoring in the fine points of pushing off the rubber. all for lots of money paid by the kids' parents in hopes of a college scholarship. They'd be busy preparing a video resume to try and impress college coaches. Some of you may know this drill. In Dad's life, though, the priorities in chronological order were 1, the war, 2, his family, and 3, making some money after scratching through the Depression. For him, the big money was in joining his uncle as an iron worker, so he did that for a while after high school, and then volunteered for the Navy, where he went to the Pacific and drove a truck helping to build airfields and bases as a Seabee. He did play ball there, as you've heard, or actually you may not have heard, he did. He was on some all-star teams there. And, you know, what we wouldn't give to go back in time and see him face some of the major league players that he faced when he was there. In the service, Dad did get offers to play pro ball starting in the low minors after the war. But his mother and brother needed help when he got home, and I'm sure Dad felt it to be his duty to do his part at home, rather than taking a long shot with baseball. That's the kind of guy he was. There were plenty of chances for him to play semi-pro games around Enfield and Springfield, which he did, and still showed his stuff. He must have been some pitcher in his late 20s. Dad was a big sports fan, too, and we caught that bug. He took us to Springfield Giants games at Pinchin Park, the Springfield Indians games at the Big E, Hartford Knights games at Dillon Stadium, and of course the Fenway Park and even Yankee Stadium. It was all part of our sports education, and we just ate it up. When we played Little League and junior high and high school sports and American Legion baseball, Dad went to every game he could. My older brother Ken says he was never happier than when he knew he could get away from work early and come watch one of our high school games. He wasn't one of those loud or second-guessing parents that those of us who volunteer to coach know so well. I'd call him quietly supportive. So, would our father have thought that his terrific athletic career was his biggest accomplishment? I doubt it. If you asked him, I think he would have said that his proudest accomplishment was sending 4 kids through college, not burdening any of them with loans to pay off afterward. Or maybe just keeping up with the demands of life and leaving my mother comfortable when he passed away. When I think of that, of how hard it was at times, and how he bore it all with lots of laughter, I think that's what makes him a hero. Thank you.
One thing that I personally love about this Hall of Fame is the wide variety of sports that has seen outstanding competitors from the town of Enfield. One sport that until tonight has never been represented by this Hall of Fame, will not have to say that again after tonight, and that is the great sport of bowling, one of the greatest participation sports that there is here in the United States. Marcel Lassard is perhaps the greatest bowler that this town has ever produced. I've never, in my bowling career, even broken 250. 300 is the pinnacle, of course. Marcel Lassard has gotten 20 300 games. 20 of them. He's a longtime member of the Central Connecticut Bowling Association, and in 1988 he established a 3-game record for the CCBA of 848, a record that stood for over 11 years. He's had innumerable 299s, 298s, just incredible, incredible games. He's had a high average of 237. That's just, if I had one game of 237, I'd probably get drunk for a week. 2-time CCBA Bowler of the Year, and he even bowled in the professional tournament that used to be at Bradley Bowl in Windsor Locks back in 1992, finishing 21st place against the greatest bowlers in the world. He's had the most CCBA titles of all time in Connecticut history with 18 and 14 state of Connecticut titles. He was inducted into the CCBA last year, and next month will be inducted into the Connecticut State Hall of Fame. Tonight he's being inducted into the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame and being presented by 2002 inductee Phil Clarkin. Please welcome tonight's next inductee, Marcel Lassard.
think as Tim said, those of us who have bowled or tried to bowl, just dream of one maybe 300 game or one high 250, 260 game. This gentleman, Marcel, has 20. It's unbelievable. I'm proud to present Marcel Lassard.
Earlier today, we were given a couple of scores. You know, the Red Sox had won 4-2. Just want everybody to know that Toronto beat the Yankees 7-4. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to thank everyone on the Hall of Fame committee for selecting me for this award, especially Tim Jensen, who took valuable time out to research me and look up my bowling career. Appreciate that. An award like this is probably not truly appreciated till later on in life. I'm still very competitive in the sport and plan on adding several accomplishments to my resume. I am very excited about the award and proud to share it with some of my family and friends. Sorry, Erica, I caught that. I'd like to introduce them quickly. My Aunt Rosemary is here. Thank you, Auntie, for coming. My cousin Rocco. My longtime girlfriend Allison is here with her dad John, and my two children, my son Patrick and my daughter Kelly. Thanks for coming. Even though I reside in Plainville, Enfield will always be home to me. I grew up and spent the first 29 years of my life here, and I attended Harry Beecher Stowe Elementary School, John F. Kennedy Middle School. It was there that I really got into bowling. They had a bowling club there that went to Enfield Lanes on a weekly basis. Enfield Lanes was a small 16-lane center located in the corner of a shopping mall next to the original Bob's Surplus store. It was by far the loudest bowling center I've ever been in. My high school was Enfield High. I graduated there in 1982. In January, earlier this year, I returned there with my daughter Kelly and my son Patrick for a freshman basketball game. And even though it appeared nothing had changed, I still couldn't find the gym. I guess I had a little too much fun while attending high school. I have many memories of my time spent in Enfield, including late nights at McDonald's, the mall, and the Twin Ranks. I know the mayor had asked to give some stories, but I won't be able to do that with my kids here, so I'm going to have to pass on that. But I can tell you I learned to love the game of bowling here. I bowled every chance I could and progressed to the best youth program in the state, which was held at Bradley Bowl in Windsor Locks. It was there that I got my first job, and I used to practice an average of 100 games a week. With the help of some great coaches and local professionals, I got pretty good, rolled my first perfect game at the age of 18, and continued to progress and won several local and state tournaments, as you heard. One of the proudest bowling accomplishments was that tournament, pro tournament, in which I didn't even win. It was in 1992. I had earned a spot as an amateur bowling against a bunch of professionals. After 24 games, I qualified in 8th place in a field of 162 pros. I made the finals and bowled head-to-head against guys like Pete Couture, Mike Albee, Walter Ray Williams Jr., and Pete Weber. All of them are National Hall of Fame members. It was a great experience. Bowling's also enabled me to travel to many places in the United States. I bowled the ABC Masters in Salt Lake City and Albuquerque, New Mexico, along with competing in the high roller event in Las Vegas, where I finished 5th in a field of 1,500 bowlers. Other places I bowled include Toledo, Baton Rouge, Wichita, Corpus Christi, Reno, Nevada, just to mention a few. I guess what I'm trying to say is bowling has been very good to me, good enough to allow my induction into the local, state, and Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame. Certainly an honor I'm grateful for tonight and for many years to come. Thank you.
We didn't beat last year's record of 9 o'clock, but we're getting it close anyway. We have one more to go tonight. And this gentleman, to me, is the personification of the quintessential scholar athlete. David Morton was an outstanding two-way football player at Enfield High School, big boy playing on both the offensive and defensive lines, and then went on to a great career up at the University of New Hampshire, where he was named All-Yankee Conference as an offensive lineman. But more than that, and I got my notes here somewhere, because stuff that you won't find in your program, you won't find here either. Ah, here we go. There's some things that you didn't know about Dave. I can't even read this. I should call him Dr. Morton because he has a doctorate in chemical engineering. And he was a Rhodes Scholar nominee. You don't see that anywhere in the biography. We are talking a scholar athlete in every sense of the word. He's a family man, and his daughter Sarah is now the #1 ranked volleyball player in the state of New York and has just gotten a full scholarship to Syracuse University. In fact, why don't we bring Sarah up here? Dave, forget about it. Sarah, where are you here? No, we won't do that. We won't do that. Sarah, did you ever live in town here? We'll be looking you up in about 10 years. Now, like I said, an absolutely brilliant person, very nice man, terrific athlete, being inducted, presented by... Well, somebody took my notes that was up here before. I don't know who's being presented by. Yes, I do. He's being presented by 1998 Hall of Famer Coach Fran Slattery. Please welcome tonight's final inductee, David Morton.
Tim has already told you what the end result was. Certainly a great scholar, a great athlete. I met Dave originally when he was like in the 5th and 6th grade, and we had those hard-nosed practices from that grueling coach, his father, down at East Windsor High School, learning how to play basketball. My pleasure to introduce Dave Morton.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank Fran Slattery and my father-in-law, Reggie Leonard, for nominating me and helping for the award. And I'm sure Hoppy had part of that introduction, too, in writing that. That was a good job there, Hop. I had a hard time of thinking what I should say tonight because I had a difficulty remembering all the games, the blocks I made, the tackles that I made, basketball shots. Those really seemed to slip away. What I remembered most were the people. I remember my dad coaching Ramblers, Little League Baseball, basketball. I remember all the friends that I formed through the high school and college years and the battles that we shared together. Those friends today are the dearest friends that I have today. I remember my wife, Sandra, high school at the time, timing me in my half miles when I get in shape for football. A lot of good, strong memories. But I'm very fortunate, as mentioned, to be involved actively in sports today. And that's mainly through my children, as a coach and a fan. And first of all, I'd like to talk about my daughter, Sarah, which you heard a little bit about. Sarah, could you stand up? You can stand too, Sarah. Stand all the way up. You can stand up and stay there. I'll talk about you. So, Sarah, mainly, I'm a fan, even though I've coached her in her basketball before. But through Sarah, I've seen a state championship basketball being played, and I've seen 2 state championships in volleyball. And we get our fingers crossed for this year, because she's got 1 more year in high school, and as you know, she's going to Syracuse, and we're glad it's only 2 hours away. We get to watch her play next year. Thanks. For my son, Zachary. Zach, you can stand up, bud. I've coached football, I've coached basketball, and I've coached baseball, and we're both hoping that this year I'm not going to be his basketball coach because he'll be playing, hopefully, on the high school team as an 8th grader. So, got our fingers crossed here, too. actually my daughter Elizabeth. I coach Lizzie in, well, you can keep up, Lizzie. I coach Lizzie in basketball, and I'm very fortunate that I'm going to learn a new sport with her, and I'm going to coach her in volleyball. Thanks again for this award.
Ladies and gentlemen, how about one more big hand for the entire class of 2005? Their plaques will join those of all the other legends of Enfield athletics over at the Hall of Fame display at the Enfield Senior Center on Elm Street. Bill, are you ready to finish up now? Yes, I am. Sorry, Bill, it's 9:45, maybe next year. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for allowing me the opportunity to present such a wonderful group of people into the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame. The pleasure was all mine, and I thank you once again.
Thank you again, and I appreciate all of you folks coming out tonight, and especially appreciate the committee that we've had this year. Chris Kuchar put this all together, so give her a round of applause.
Patrick, have a good year. I'll be in to see you guys.
presentation was put together by Carl Mushin, who's right around the computer. Let's give him a round of applause.